This is Sunday, March 8th, 2026. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This morning I'm going to talk about courage in Zen practice. And for some starters, we can take advice from the legendary NBA player Michael Jordan. He's widely recognized as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, recognized for his uncompromising work ethic and outstanding athletic ability. I remember back in the early 90s, there being a Gatorade commercial that featured him with the catchphrase, "Be like Mike." But behind that image of representing the peak of greatness, there's struggle. The struggle and hardship that Jordan went through to not just reach, but sustain that level of success. He once said in an interview, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." And in taking up Zen practice, most of us discover pretty quickly, too, that it takes persistent effort, self-discipline, and also a willingness to fail over and over and over again. To keep getting wrung out of Dokusan. And this runs completely counter to how we're conditioned in life to pursue a quick fix, to gain, not to lose, to make gains in achieving a greater sense of happiness, which a lot of people associate with accumulating stuff, wealth, material possessions. Also making gains in climbing the social ladder, the imaginary social ladder. Making gains in your status or how others look upon you. This is why making a personal commitment to put time aside regularly, ideally daily, to do Zazen, to sit still and in silence, not trying to accomplish anything, just sitting, observing the breath, experiencing being in a body. It's the most radical thing one can do. Likewise, going to sesshin, that's radical. We just had a 2-day sesshin last weekend. Why would anyone give up a weekend or give up a whole week or however number of days you're committing to if you do it part-time? Why would you do that? Why would you give up precious vacation time? Why would you put down all your responsibilities? Stash away your cell phone. Talk about radical. And commit to doing Zazen 10 or more hours a day. Who does that? And I gotta say, for the benefit of those who don't know what sesshin is about, the word sesshin is a Japanese word that we use to refer to a meditation retreat. But that word retreat, although it's more widely understood, we don't often use it because it's not a retreat in the conventional sense of taking a break. As anyone who has done a sesshin knows, it's not like going on vacation or going to a spa. The meaning of the word sesshin is quite different than retreat. There are several English translations of it. The ones I've come upon the most are touching the heart-mind, collecting the heart-mind, and gathering the heart-mind. The way we touch the heart-mind is by gathering our limbs together, sitting still. It's a method for touching whatever we're experiencing, moment by moment, not separating ourselves from it. So to call sesshin a kind of retreat, it's really in the sense of it's not retreating from life, it's becoming more closer to it. Turning towards life, not escaping from it. And we do this not just in sesshin, but every time we sit. And again, it does require effort and self-discipline, a willingness to fail. And we need to have the intention to do it, to make space for it in our life, to prioritize it as essential, just as we do with eating and sleeping. So the only thing that makes it difficult, really, is that we have all these competing things we could be doing with our time. Why sit still and face a wall when you can find more instant gratification? From watching a video or doing items on your to-do list. Just distracting yourself in any number of ways. And so in this way, doing Zazen for any length of time does require inner strength and courage. You might recall the story of the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz. He joins Dorothy along with the Scarecrow and the Tin Man because he thinks he can acquire courage from the wizard. It's something that he lacks, that he needs to get from someone else. And yet, despite all his self-doubt, he frequently displayed courage in what was a very perilous journey. Including fields of poppies and flying monkeys. And ultimately, he did learn that he didn't need to get courage from the wizard. He learned that it was already within him, and that true courage has nothing to do with the absence of fear, but rather acting despite of it. And this is how courage comes into play when we sit. It's not courage to accomplish something, or to get to a finish line or win a game. But it's the courage to lose. Just sitting, doing nothing, gaining nothing. In doing some research on the subject of courage, I learned that there are differing definitions for it, depending on the context. But a recurring theme seems to be taking a risk. Choosing to do something that is perceived to be risky. In other words, taking a chance. It's a gamble where it may or may not work out favorably for you. We take lots of risks in life, and some of them are planned and calculated. Like making a career change. Or taking a leave from your career to do a period of training at the Zen Center. That's risky. There are other kinds of risks that are decisions made on the fly. Like a split-second decision to help somebody who's in harm's way. And possibly even risking harm to yourself in doing so. There are many types of risks that we take actually on a daily basis without even thinking of them as risks. Some are work or lifestyle related. Even getting out of bed has its hazards. And for some, it can take courage, especially when your body doesn't function the way it used to. Or mental health struggles are holding you back. One of the more common risks we take every day is getting into a car and driving or being a passenger. I've read that statistically it's one of the most dangerous things we can do. And that's because car accidents are the leading cause of death for people. And that crosses all demographics. It doesn't matter what your geographic location is, your age, your gender, your ethnicity, class, and so on. Every time we get into a car, we're entering a situation that is full of uncertainty. Road and weather conditions, the condition of your car, and the condition of other people's cars. Your degree of attentiveness and alertness, along with that of others. If you happen to be black or brown, that magnifies the risk. The risk of speaking English with an accent, or speaking another language altogether. That's risky too. It's the case that life in general is uncertain. The world we live in is volatile. Can't hold on to anything, can't take anything for granted. We get reminded pretty frequently about this these days. Okay, then how is it that doing zazen, sitting still, doing nothing, is also risk-taking? It's not like we're courageously going into battle with thoughts. If you take that approach, you're placing yourself in opposition to them. This is a mistake that a lot of us make. I know I did. It's a mistake because it's like you're going into battle with yourself. So it only results in tension, straining in the body and the mind, separation, grasping. I consulted a source from the American Psychological Association about courage and risk-taking. And it's an interview with a professor named Cynthia Puri. She's an editor or co-editor of the book, The Psychology of Courage, Modern Research on an Ancient Virtue. And interestingly, the first thing she brings up is fear. Fear and risk are closely linked, in that fear is the emotional response to perceived danger. And it influences how we assess risks, how we work with them. And when it comes to cultivating courage, Puri identifies two kinds of fear that we confront in life. The fear of not getting what you want, and also the fear of getting what you want. The fear of not getting and getting what you want. And we can see this operating with Zen practice. First, there's the fear of not getting what you want. It's risky, it's dangerous, because we're putting in a lot of time and effort, and it may not yield results. It's a risk we all have to accept. And what does the fear of not getting what you want look like in practice? Well, it can take the form of risk management, trying to engineer your zazen, grasping for it to feel a certain way. Along with this, you could be worrying that you're not doing it right, that you're not making progress, thinking that there won't be a payoff, or that somehow you're unworthy. And then the fear of getting what you want. The danger, the perceived danger of losing a sense of self that you've long identified with. Can involve concerns about what will happen if you allow yourself to go deeper into your practice. What will happen if you experience yourself as it truly is? No self. What will that be like? Will I fall out of the universe? How will it affect me and my relationships? Ultimately, you can see that dwelling in either of these fears, or both of them, centers on an attachment to being in control. And the fear, really, of losing control. And yet, there's no one in control to begin with. It's an illusion. We're not in control. Thoughts, emotions, mind states, they will always arise uninvited. That's what they do. Also, as far as your practice, the breath or the koan, they do not respond to marching orders. So what courage looks like in Zen practice is being willing to really take the risk of letting go, of being in control, really committing wholeheartedly, while dropping any concerns about outcome or no outcome. The French writer André Gide said, "You cannot discover new oceans unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore." What does it take to lose sight of the shore? There's a teisho that was given by Harada Tangenroshi that gets at what it takes. And I'll read a few excerpts from it. It's a teisho that he gave in 2000 and was published in 2018 in an online magazine called Buddhism Now. And the title of the teisho is "The Depth of Truth is Bottomless." And for those of you who may not know, prior to becoming a teacher, Tangen Roshi was a close friend of Kapleau Roshi. They continued to be friends for a long time. Tangen was the head monk at Hoshinji, and that was one of the monasteries that Kapleau stayed at during his 13 years in Japan. Tangen says, "If you continue to think along the lines that you have given all you could possibly give, you won't make it. You must continue this one doing. My teacher told me, as I tell you today, that your resolve must be absolute. You must be prepared to persevere with single-minded conviction and effort. I knew then that I would carry it through. Will you carry it through?" It does fall upon us to carry it through. And the term he uses, one doing, is one that he used often. It's another way of saying just this. Completely, totally, just. He goes on, that is not to say that it was always easy for me. I struggled mightily as you struggle, but I stuck with the practice and made no excuses for myself. I did not allow my practice to fade out in feelings of discouragement. There were hard times, even times when I thought I was not going to live through it. But I stayed with the practice no matter what. I refused to give in to my old self-centered patterns of behavior. I did not try to adjust the practice to do it my way. I stuck with a simple practice that was given to me. Keeping it simple. Not letting up. Stepping out of your safety zone of thoughts and fixed views and habits. And simply opening up to whatever presents itself, whatever arises. So that means relaxing into all conditions without picking or choosing. Relaxing into anger, anxiety, fear, grief, boredom, confusion, and also joy. Excitement, contentment, love. And not falling for the trap of pushing anything away, nor chasing towards something. Again, no picking or choosing. Letting it all happen, letting life happen. Tonglen Roshi then says, I cannot stress enough to you the absolute importance of sticking to your practice no matter what. No adjustment is required. No calculation is needed. You must give your life to this and refuse to let anything, any thoughts, ideas, attitudes get in your way. Your yes to life must be open. Your resolve must be like steel. There is a stone here in the graveyard upon which these words are carved. He's no doubt referring to the graveyard of the monastery where he taught, which was Bukokuji. So the stone in the graveyard has these words. We were once just as you are now. You will become as we are now. We were once just as you are now. You will become as we are now. How is that? He says. The fact is, everyone passes on. Impermanence is swift. No matter how blessed you may feel in your present circumstances, how easygoing, how secure and pleased you are, you cannot hang on to that world. It will be jerked out from under you. Impermanence is swift. The problem of life and death is no one else's problem. It is yours to deal with. In this way, practice needs to be unconditional. Not just when it feels right or feels good. Not just when it's convenient. Everything passes. Everything we cherish and love will change and disappear. And practice isn't about trying to find comfort in this. It's about leaning into it. Leaning into impermanence. And next, Tonglen talks about confronting our suffering. He says, the more you know of this world, the more you see it to be a giant exhibition of suffering. Everywhere you look, you see plenty of examples of misery. And what about you? Have you no pain, no suffering, no worries, no fears? If you honestly think, hey, not me, I can meet it as it comes, go with the flow, I am not afraid, I can always be at peace, then you are fooling yourself, giving yourself license, seeing yourself for what you are not. You are caught up in a self-notion, clinging to an ego idea. Lost in that self, you cannot hear the cries or see the tears of others. If you can overlook those tears, you are not a person of great peace of mind. The world needs more people who are willing to not turn away from suffering. And that really is what it means to become one with things as they are. Becoming one with suffering. Both with your own suffering and everyone else's. And the planet's. Not two. But it seems too many of us are inclined to bypass suffering, to bypass unpleasant feelings and emotions and states, bypass anything that's uncomfortable. So if you notice that you're working hard at keeping a so-called stiff upper lip, or manufacturing a smile, smiling all the time, or working at trying to give the impression that you're strong, or that you've got it all together. What's going on there? It takes courage to let down your guard. And that too is necessary for this practice. The French writer Anais Nin said, "Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. So then, when we stop trying to orchestrate what we're experiencing, when we stop performing and remove the mask, something truer and more authentic is revealed. We allow ourselves to be as we are, as we have been all along, from the very beginning, despite all the thoughts that try to convince us otherwise. And that's where we find freedom. The courage to be your authentic self. We'll stop here and recite the 4 vows.